Good morning and welcome to Talking Point here on WESN, the content capital. My name is Keaton Shaw. You may have already known that due to my presence on AM Prime this morning. Nevertheless, thank you very much for joining me once more on the program. Today we have quite a bit to discuss following the Attorney General's press conference yesterday, and then we'll also be taking a look at what seems to be a racial rant by one Opposition United National Congress's alderman at the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation. First, we will dive into the Commission of Inquiry into the Paria fuel tragedy in which 4 members of a diving team lost their lives. The Commission of Inquiry started yesterday, and it seems as though it's not off to a good start at all, with the head of that commission, Queen's Counsel Jerome Lynch, actually lamenting the lack of resources provided to them by the state. Now, hopefully, if we're lucky enough, my co-host and colleague, Mr. Sean Michael Small, will join us shortly, hopefully. But in the meantime, as I welcome you to the program, we do hope all is well. You see, the situation in Trinidad and Tobago has not really changed. Nothing has gotten better. The mere fact that a commission of inquiry, which was 6 months in the making, has only just begun following the tragedy and already complaining of a lack of resources provided to them by the state, well, that just tells you alone that we can't take anything seriously here in Trinidad and Tobago. Imagine a commission of inquiry was only given 1 member of staff up to a couple weeks ago. In fact, Queen's Counsel Jerome Lynch said it himself. He says there's only so much that one lady can do. He also complained of the fact that there's a lack of paper, a lack of printing facilities available to them. I'm not entirely sure how the government plans to respond to this or what they will come up with next, but the Attorney General, Reginald Amor, indicated that whilst he does not whilst he's not doubting, let me get my words correct, whilst he's not doubting what Queen's Counsel Jerome Lynch has stated, he needs to review very carefully exactly what was said before giving us a response. Yesterday, of course, he was speaking into the audit report, the firearms audit report of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, in which he indicated that those who are mentioned, and he stressed on the fact that there's more than one person or one individual that was mentioned in that report, well, they will be given the opportunity to defend themselves. He said the reason for the delay is because what is happening is something called the due process of law, of which we're quite familiar with on Talking Point. As we speak, we are waiting for more information actually to come out from the Office of the Attorney General, while this is due to be laid in Parliament. Now, all of this in response to a letter written by the attorney representing the former Commissioner of Police and the current political leader of the National Transformation Alliance, Gary Griffith. Well, his lawyer, Larry Lawler, wrote to the Office of the Attorney General following what he deems as a leak of the report to the media. And then, as I mentioned, later on we will be welcoming a familiar face to Talking Point, Alderman Daniel Piper, as we try to have a conversation. And I say try because I can't believe this day, this age, we're in 2022, we're having conversations about racial slurs, about racial rants, and the mere fact that this is still taking place within some of our high offices. One might say, Keeson, why are you so surprised? Why are you so confused? That's just how things are. Even if they don't say it publicly, behind closed doors, that's how it takes place. I don't know. I can't say that. All I know is that one individual was completely caught off guard. And quite frankly, I'm happy. I'm happy we're able to expose this level of nonsense, this level of politics taking place. And regardless of whoever the political side is, or whoever the individual is, it doesn't matter. There is no room, and there should be no tolerance of any racism or racial behavior in Trinidad and Tobago, across the world on a whole. But as you know, the Talking Point focuses mostly on Trinidad and Tobago. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break here on the program. Hopefully my co-hosts will be with us, and well, we'll get into the conversations after this.
Chantwell Vibes, a musical tribute to Andre Tanker, Saturday, September 24th, 2022, Central Bank Auditorium. Showtime, 7:30 p.m. Featuring Three Canal, Mavis John, Ataclan, Empress Ajay, Stacy Sobers, and panist Natasha Joseph. Tickets $300. Available at Crosby's Music Center, St. James. Extra Foods, Arima, Grand Bazaar, and Endeavour. Online at Island E-Tickets. Committee members at 678-2843 or 482-3111. Central Bank box office on the day of the event. Mart's Liquor Palace, Diego Martin Main Road, La Puerta. A musical tribute to Andre Tanker. Saturday, September 24th, 2022. Central Bank Auditorium. Showtime, 7:30 p.m.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzoneTT.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The best for your baby is at thebesttoys.com. From the best strollers, car seats, baby carriers, high chairs, booster seats, rockers, jumpers and bouncers, walkers, baby blankets, feeding accessories, bathtubs. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship McBean. Shop online now at thebesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 332-BABY. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Well, welcome back to the program here on WESN. Thank you for sticking with us. So alongside me, we're joined by my co-host and colleague, Mr. Sean Michael Small. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Keaton. It's an interesting morning. It's a beautiful morning, I would say, today. Unfortunately, I also mean it's quite warm. My AC on my vehicle conked out on me. That's one of the challenges of having an older car where parts are not available. So, of course, now it's already a hot, miserable. Fortunately, these days, folks, traffic isn't as bad. I don't know what it is. I don't know if somebody could call in and maybe give me an explanation. I don't know why it's so different from Tuesdays. All of those things happen, of course.
Traffic's not bad this morning?
Not bad as Tuesday or Monday. Still bad, but it is what it is. But all of the usual rigors of life, you know, I know that we have some other topics. I just want to mention this, and maybe we'll get back to it later on in the show. All of the usual rigors of life. The Commission of Inquiry to the Paria tragedy.
Oh, I just started with that, so we continue with that, yeah.
Yes, I was wondering. I suspected this is what you were speaking about. I don't understand. I don't understand. And it's because, for the very same reason why some people might say, technocrats and people in the know and people who are very practical minded, well, $7 million for 60-year independence shouldn't be too bad. Folks, paper and pens should not be but a fraction of a drop of the bucket of the national budget. For something as important as this, we're not talking about renting out a whole building in downtown Port of Spain and staffing it with 2,000 people, right? We're not talking about getting 500 new computers. We're talking about pens and paper.
Well,
Internet?
pens, paper, printers, internet, even staffing, furniture for office space, they could not get any of this. Let me remind you, it's been 194 days since this tragedy. The Commission of Inquiry, 6 months later, finally has begun. And even Jerome Lynch, Queen's Counsel, the Jamaican jurist leading the Commission of Inquiry, he felt very apologetic. He was very sympathetic towards the families and indicated, well, we're so sorry that this is the case.
He is apologetic?
No. Hold on. Just bear in mind.
It's his responsibility to fund this?
No. Just bear in mind. Hold on. Understand where he was coming from. You're right. It's not his responsibility to fund it at all. And his position, what he basically did yesterday, because this is quite an embarrassing start to anything, ladies and gentlemen, anything at all in Trinidad and Tobago, we can't seem to get it right. He's basically calling out the government. He said, you know, if it wasn't for the chairman of UDCOT, Noel Garcia, and some of his staff, well, we may not have had a full office space. And if it wasn't for Stuart Young, who has been very, very helpful. Hold on. Let me get the exact words for you. He said, I know the Honorable Minister Stuart Young has been doing all that he can to push this along. Happily, as a consequence, I understand he plundered the offices of the Prime Minister in order to provide us with some chairs, desks, and basic office furniture over the last weekend. Jerome Lynch, you're smart. You're brilliant. You're thanking Stuart Young while at the same time putting him in the spotlight because he was the one who was charged with putting this Commission of Inquiry together. He had to plunder the office of the Prime Minister to get chairs, desks, and basic office materials and basic office furniture. We have buildings that the government is renting for millions of dollars a month, hundreds of millions of dollars a month. And you mean to tell me a Commission of Inquiry cannot start now without pen on paper?
Now, the Minister of Energy is the line minister. So the easiest assumption is to say he is directly responsible for the logistics. And even if he is not directly responsible, he is still indirectly responsible, right? Because obviously Paria comes under his purview. He has a direct interest involved, so even if he's not indirectly responsible, he still has some kind of say, and he still has some kind of responsibility to not let it reach this point. That said, how resources is moved about in this government, this brings back up that question. It's the same question with EFCL. It's the same question as to why the government owes TNTech money, because TNTech has to pay their suppliers. Their suppliers are not the government. And even if it was, we have seen where EFCL, that sort of circular logic, well, the government paying itself. Yes, because at some point the money has to actually pay for the labor of employees, for the contractors, for the supplies, etc. Now, the fact that Stuart Young was able to rectify a little bit of the situation at the last minute doesn't really provide the saving grace. Maybe it is a look into how the government and cabinet's inner workings are. It doesn't reveal enough to really come to a conclusion. Regardless, it's been however many months, and I was always wondering, why does it take so long to get a couple of guys together to start? What part of the process takes 6 months, right? Does it take 6 months to fly into Trinidad? Does it take 6 months to sign a contract, to get agreement? We're not even talking about a staff of 20. You start it off, you get the agreement, they could sort that out. You could add staff overtime, etc., etc. It should not be that hard for 6 months. And after 6 months, something like pens, I could understand if the office space wasn't big enough. I could understand if they didn't have enough printers, enough chairs, enough desks, enough whatever. But to say that you don't have pens, not even to say you don't have enough pens, you don't have pens?
You don't have pens, you don't have paper. You know what's going to happen now, ladies and gentlemen? As the thing with this entire government, they're going to come out. There's probably going to be the opening of an invitation to bid or an invitation to tender for the project of supplying pens, papers, printers, and basic materials and necessities to the Commission of Inquiry. Somebody is going to get a $500,000 contract to provide a box of pens and, of course, a bale of paper. That's just what's going to happen. And this is the level of nonsense that we've had to deal with in Trinidad and Tobago. To me, this is a travesty of justice, because I could go out on a rant and say that clearly people didn't want this commission of inquiry to happen. Clearly, they're not taking it seriously. Clearly, they're not concerned with the families and what the families have gone through. I could even say that the heads of PARIA are somehow trying to ensure that this commission of inquiry is not up to par. I could go out. I'm not going to say that, I am just simply going to say Trinidad and Tobago, this is an embarrassing situation. Whoever's responsible should be ashamed, and quite frankly, he is not fit to do a single job if that is the case. I cannot believe that after 194 days, a commission of inquiry. Sean, we've spent millions of dollars on commissions of inquiries before. Millions of dollars on the port. Right? You remember the Port Authority? We've had a commission of inquiry into CLICO. We speak about that on Talking Point all the time. We speak about the port. So many commissions of inquiries. And you mean to tell me that when it comes to other people's lives, in Trinidad and Tobago, nothing could ever get done. It's never taken seriously. So I go back to what I said. You see that $7.5 million that was spent on Independence Day celebrations across Trinidad and Tobago? It would have been nice if Ole could have spent $500 in providing basic materials to this commission of inquiry.
What also gets me is the fact that the Queen's Counsel, that title there, Queen's Counsel, folks, you know what that means? That means he's not senior counsel. That means he's not a local senior lawyer. That means that he was recognized by a court outside of our jurisdiction. He is internationally recognized. He probably has done work on an international level across the Commonwealth. That's why someone like that is brought down here. The trust and faith that is supposedly given to someone like that, and he comes down here and he has to apologize for a situation that is not of his making. He has to apologize to a nation, that the government of the nation that expressed its sorrow at the tragedy was so inept and unprepared that for basic necessities, the inquiry to get to the bottom of the tragedy so that we could hold those potentially responsible of any sort of negligence or criminal activity, any sort of unethical behavior, we could get to the bottom of the situation. He has to apologize that basic necessities for the process are not even made available for him or for anyone else. And then on top of that, given the context of the whole situation, I'm going to say it. Who's supposed to be in charge of PARIA? Because as much as the line minister is supposed to be behind the scenes, doing everything he can to make sure the process is going smoothly, because it still is direct overall responsibility, even if the logistics and the resources are supposed to come from somewhere else. It still is direct overall oversight and responsibility. PARIA also, if they had anything between their hearts and their head, any sort of strength of character, should have done everything they could to make sure that this commission of inquiry went forward quickly, fairly, transparently. And the fact that it looks like it's been undermined in the most pathetic and basic and simplistic and moronic and childish and frivolous ways.
You're running out of adjectives here.
Right? I wonder, I mean, does it have anything to do with the person who was politically appointed?
Listen, very quickly before we go to break, I'm just going to spend 30 seconds and read to you part of the report from our friends at Newsday. Lynn said, "We are falling behind. I wish to emphasize this is not the responsibility of any one of us sitting on the side of the commission that we have had this slip. He assured, however, we would do everything we can to make up for that time. To date, he said, the commission has received something in order 40 separate statements from witnesses, over 30 separate documents resulting in over 4,000 pages of material, videos, photographs, and a plethora of correspondence. But he said, we have no one to process it. There is a limit to what one day he can do. He said he was hopeful that they would have early legal submissions which might have affected witness timing and directions all of the other things you would have expected of us that might have been achieved today. But that cannot be. And so while we stand ready to do that, which we are charged to do, we cannot do so without the basic tools to carry it out. I ask publicly, please help us to do our job. The Commission of Inquiry has been delayed yet again. This is not fair. This is not right. This is what's happening Trinidad and Tobago. We'll be right back after this.
What's your choice? Choice Optical. That's my choice.
Nuance Security and Solar Systems Limited, ensuring value with renewable energy solutions for all.
I am Rondell Donowa, attorney at law and host of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Strictly Legal is a legal program geared towards informing you, the public, of your legal rights, responsibilities, and remedies. So be viewing Thursdays 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing now, Andre.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Paul?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Well, by now, I'm sure that most of you are aware of what happened at the Sangre Regional Corporation as it relates to what seems to be a racial rant by United National Congress Alderman Susan Holder. Well, this morning, we are going to analyze that. Very shortly, we will be joined by our guest, an alderman from the Sangre Regional Corporation, Daniel Piper. But as we get into this topic, we do have a clip of the report, this three. Let's take a look at this.
When the PNM members of council didn't have the way, they decide to get on like some idiots in here. Mr. Chairman, I heard the CEO say today about all your behavior. Why when the PNM members of council conducting themselves in a disgraceful, distasteful, Quattara kind of way, they don't come out and tell them these things. We are only standing up for what is right in here, Mr. Chairman.
Statements made last week at the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation statutory meeting, now being strongly condemned by People's National Movement councillors. The heated words came from United National Congress Alderman Susan Holder. Later in the recording, Corporation Chairman Arnold Jutram could be heard cautioning the alderman on her language. And this was Alderman Holder's response.
Be very cautious with the name calling.
I ain't call nobody name.
I know that.
I ain't call nobody name.
So that's a safeguard, you know.
They could say what they want, I say what I want too. And if the lawsuit come, I'm taking that too. I know how to do that good. I'm good at that. I ain't good at that. Me afraid of.
Speaking to CNC3 News, Corporation Chairman Anil Jutram confirmed the recording is authentic. He said that he cautioned Alderman Holder and he has distanced himself from her comments. He is making it clear that he will never support such statements.
In regards of those type of comments, be it from what side of the political divide, as an individual, I am not in support of those type of comments. I'm a proud Trinbagonian, and I stand with every creed and race, find an equal place. And those type of comments are inhumane, very insensitive, and callous.
Commenting on the issue, Alderman Susan Holder admitted to making the statement, but defended herself by saying she never called names. Alderman Holder said her comments came after PNM councillors behaved in a way she called unbecoming when she presented a proposal to the council. She said that she will have to rethink whether she will withdraw her statements.
I did not call any one of them a old. I said they conduct themselves in a type of old manner.
But people would ask the question, Alderman, that language may not be council-like. I mean, what was your views on that?
Well, Otto, people may say that, but that is a term being used when you conduct yourself in such a classless manner.
But after the interview, Alderman Holder wanted to retract her statements to CNC3 News. PNM councillors are now calling for Alderman Susan Holder to be removed.
I could imagine how the other Creole people in that meeting felt when she used that, because you could hear some other people clapping and laughing. That is not nice. Ms. Bissessa and the UNC do something now about Susan Holder's behavior.
Valencia West councillor Simon Gill said when the words were said, Chairman Jutram did nothing, as we hear in the recording.
What is that problem? How you put a law to finish Mr. Chairman with operation floor? But who could use more operation slow than all you?
I did caution the alderman. I did caution the alderman about the language being used.
Oh, move, Satan, move.
Right, I did.
When it was brought to his attention that members were questioning what was said and we had issues with the statements what was said, we asked the chairman to be held to hold it to account. And his response was, I cautioned her. I cautioned her is not a valid answer or response to that racially charged and disgracefully motivated statement that was made.
The PNM councillors intend to file motions against the chairman and alderman in the next statutory meeting. Otto Carrington, CNC3 News.
You know, two things you can't take back.
Well, we want to thank CNC3 News once more for that exclusive report. And thank you very much for, as we used it on Talking Point this morning. Now, that being said, as I turn to my co-host and colleague, Sean Michael Small, you would be amazed. You would be amazed as to the responses. It seems as though it's split, it's divided. People are saying, well, nothing is wrong with this. This is said all the time between Afro-Trinidadians and Afro-Trinidadians. Others are saying there's no room for racism, as mentioned by the reporter. That is not conduct for anybody in such a high office. So I am amazed that people are defending this, and I'm amazed that Susan Holder herself is defending this, and I'm even amazed by the response of Rudal Munilal when questioned about it.
So, first of all, the key tell is that the chairman did censor her. Let's not discuss the level of punishment. That's a different discussion. He knew what she did was wrong, and he attempted in the moment to try to get her to stop, not do it again, understand it was wrong. Because the worst thing that could happen is that she repeats that mistake, right? But again, it's a tell. It's a tell that even he knows, right? Her chairman, member of the UNC, a person of the East Indian community, therefore, I am sure some of the people, maybe not all, but some of the people who wanted to use defense, well, Afro-Trinidadians or black people in general around the world use it, tell it to each other, why she can't say it here. He knows that it would have been better for it not to be said. Now, his response to the criticisms of his fellow member of that local government body, his response to the criticisms of the PNM alderman, is unfortunately weak. It's telling. I think it's a situation where he himself does not know what to do in the moment. You could argue that the situation is well beyond the capabilities of both Ms. Holder and the chairman as well, right? We need to understand that not all politicians are as great as we think they are. They are ordinary human beings, and sometimes ordinary, and most of us are ordinary people with average capabilities. Nothing wrong with that. But we need to understand that sometimes we elect similar people, and when they fail to rise above a situation, this is unfortunate result. With regards to Mr. Monilal,
what did Mr. Monilal say? Okay, let me just respond to you. I'll go into what Mr. Monilal said very well just now. First of all, to the chairman, Anil Jutram, quite frankly, fine, you can make the argument, he tried to pull her up on her conduct. As chairman of the council, he was pathetic and he was weak. I will caution you on your name calling and caution you. Listen, Mr. Jutram, quite frankly, as a chairman, you didn't even deserve to be there. What kind of leadership material is that? You didn't call up the lady at all. Susan Holder, as far as I'm concerned, should not be in that position. Huh? I don't care what anybody... You could support any party. It doesn't matter. She should not be in that position. And anybody who has expressed any level of racial sentiments should not be in that position either. Because there is a racial issue in Trinidad and Tobago that we need to address. We need to have a conversation about this. I'm not saying that we should shy away from it. At all.
Question. Has anybody in any party given up, stated the defense? Well, the word is used all the time by whatever, in whatever context, so it should be fine. Anybody has even tried, or has that come from the public?
No. In fact, Jutram said he doesn't stand for that level of nonsense. The response from Monilal was, I'm aware of the matter. He was actually questioned about it, by the way.
Yes.
At the UNC conference, right?
Yes, as he should be.
His response was, and I quote, I'm aware of the matter. It is in the daily press. Pity the front page did not have the murder rate of the country. And I'll come to that too because you remind me of it. But that matters, it's a matter of a local government council. End quote. Mr. Monilal, honestly, your arguments would have been fine if this didn't happen. Because you're right, let's focus on the murder rate. Let's focus on these issues. I agree with you. But you see, when nonsense like this comes up, this completely takes away from the major issues that you all should be focusing on.
So, where was your focus on the murder rate in any tangible way? I'm not talking about the stupid bubble that you try to trot out on Monday nights. Where was that? We have this situation with the Paria inquiry. And now this nonsense is distracting from that. In fact, this nonsense might actually take away most of the national attention from the false start, way too delayed Paria inquiry into the tragedy and the horrific deaths of those gentlemen, right? Because you have an alderman who didn't know how to properly communicate. So again, you get someone who cannot rise above an occasion or rise to an occasion. She says things and she acts in a manner that basically indicates that the situation is beyond her capabilities, and you yourself now come after her chairman does not do a proper job to defend your party's position. All you could do is shift blame and try to distract us from this nonsense when this is the most sensational thing happening right now for a good section of the public. Why? Because you are one half of the problem that promotes combative politics, and all the people involved, PNM and UNC, gonna eat this up.
No, listen.
Gonna eat this up.
We have to take a break, but very quickly. We condemned the PNM. I remember when on an election they had somebody dress up in a sari and all that took place. PNM as well. You remember in the presence of Keith Rowley and Orville London.
Yes.
Hilton Sandy made a statement about a ship from Calcutta is coming for you, right? We've had a minister say, living in the lagoon. You remember? And you know who that minister is, right? We have condemned all these, and the United National Congress has condemned all of these, even with the COVID figures. When they saw that the District of Carney had the highest number of COVID-19 cases and deaths, the United National Congress said, this is a dog whistle from the PNM, this is racist. I tried to figure out where the racism was. We have condemned all these words and actions. The UNC has always been quick to jump out and condemn all these words and actions. The mere fact that they haven't done anything thus far or said anything thus far beyond the distraction that Rudal Mulal is always known to create, and the mere fact that the shadow minister of local government, Khadija Jamin, says, I'm launching an investigation. What investigation you need to launch? Quite frankly, United National Congress, if you all could condemn the PNM in the past, and rightfully so, honestly, you should learn a lesson as well. You all should learn a lesson as well. This nonsense has to stop. Let's take a break on the program.
Delivered nationwide. Kiss enriched bread.
Fill your day with love.
Christmas is coming. The Retail Warehouse Christmas Village is back with great deals. So check us in-store or online today.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through. Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
AM Prime on WESN, the only place from 6 to 7:30 a.m. where you can get the most analytical and thorough interviews and regional reports.
The Barbados Labour Party, led by the Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley, once again able to achieve a clean sweep in yesterday's general election.
I think a lot of people have underestimated the power of Tobago nationalism.
If the government is afraid to say it, I, Martin George, I am saying it this morning on your show, Andy. There will be no carnival before Ash Wednesday.
Grab a cup of coffee and start your day right watching AM Prime with Andy Johnson weekdays from 6 a.m. Only on your content capital, WESN.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
Welcome back to Talking Point. Of course, we apologize. Our guest, she has apologized herself. She's unable to make it. We were going to have Alderman Daniel Piper give her response, a direct response. It's always good to try to hear from people involved in the situation to get detailed information. We also did technically seek to invite a member from the other side, but we were unable to secure anyone's willingness to come on. With that said, I want to get back because I'm not yet finished commenting on Mr. Munilal's comments, because ultimately I would just like to say, it is reported, so again, I am willing to admit that I could only speak with regards to what I see is reported. Maybe he didn't say it quite this way, taken out of context, I don't know. But it is reported that he will say, that he said, it will not be proper for me to comment to prejudice the inquiry. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I need to just make it clear. By saying, and I quote, he said, before that line, he said, pity the front page did not have the murder rate of the country. That indirect comment already risks prejudicing the inquiry because it indicates, right, that you're trying to downplay the importance of what happened by throwing up something else to say, hey, look at this instead, look at this instead. Don't bad talk us, bad talk them with this example here. Look at the murder rate of the country. Why are you worried about this for? But I will not comment to prejudice the public perception, the public narrative that might affect then the inquiry, the public opinion.
Is he stupid?
To some extent, I have, because the government and the leaders of the opposition, and sometimes the junior members of the opposition, they do things like this. We have pointed it out time and time again. This is the most foolish thing ever. You make a statement that betrays your opinion on the matter, then say, I have to refrain from making a statement because my opinion on the matter might prejudice the situation. Meanwhile, let me just remind our viewers, what was one of the most recent claimed racial attacks, which has some merit behind the accusation, and that was the accusations of mocking the opposition leader by repeatedly using her full name in a political rally or political meeting undertaken by the PNM. And the opposition wanted us to take that seriously. And to some extent, we will take that seriously. But that was a racial slur. That wasn't just mocking somebody's name. That was a racial slur. There's nothing beautiful about a racial slur. And notice, we have not heard anything from the opposition leader, because I think what people need to understand is that the two big cheeses of the country, they tend to hide behind their party and just come up and surface for air, maybe say a little something a few days down the line.
I'll be very honest with you. I'm surprised that I did not hear from Kirk Mehu as yet on this. I am very surprised, but at the same time, the reason why I'm not surprised that I have not heard from the opposition leader as yet is probably because she doesn't want to, the public opinion of the inquiry that's taking place. You see, I'll be very honest with you. You see, Arnold Ram, Ravi Rasiram, Devendranath Tanku, and Kirk Mehu, those individuals did not write a statement on her behalf. So therefore, she didn't know how to respond. She didn't know what to say because those individuals did not actually come out and write anything for her. So she can't talk.
I will go a step further. I think far too many of these people in high office do not have the strength of character, and that is why they don't know how to respond to a crisis like this. That is why. And these political appointees, that is why the board of Paria didn't know one part of what to say. It's their direct responsibility. The minister has to come now and solve the situation for them. The prime minister didn't come to speak. The minister has to come out and try to speak on the government's behalf. The leader of the opposition has not taken an interview with any media house. For how long? Why? Because she can't control it. Or her handlers have warned her that they can't control the situation. The Prime Minister himself also rephrases from doing many interviews, by the way. But he has at least taken one or two over the last couple of years.
UNC Sangrani Councillor Nazar Hussain, who didn't comment on calls for the removal of Holder, pointed to remarks by the Prime Minister. Okay, hold on. I get what he's saying. The Prime Minister has made some ludicrous, nasty, disgusting comments and never apologized for it. And the Prime Minister is utterly wrong for such. But when you are asked about a colleague of your own who has committed a wrong, you're quick to chastise the Prime Minister, never quick to correct your own. His response was, it have more important things that should be dealt with. Roads, potholes, schools, books for children. So the issues is trivial as the needs of the people aren't being attended to. I agree. The needs of the people are not being attended to. These things are not being sought after. In that rant, hold on, in that rant that we heard from Susan Holder, I'm trying to figure out where any of those things were addressed. She was according to her, she was addressing the mannerisms and the conduct of some of these PNM councillors. That's according to her. She defended it. She's ready to go to court. Quite frankly, I don't even think she should see the daylight of court, and she shouldn't see her office as an alderman again.
That alone. Oh, I didn't call anybody any name. No, actually, you did. You basically said they all behave like that. So you basically said that all of the PNM councillors in Sangre Grande and aldermen are that. And the fact that you are so foolish as to not understand that, not my co-host, Mr. Gita Shah, I said Susan Holder. When Susan Holder told the chairman, I didn't call anybody that name, she basically called all the PNM members of Sangre Grande that name. Because she said that was their behavior. The mere fact that she can't understand that means that her position is beyond her. And the fact that the UNC is bringing up this defense, that there are more important things to say, I don't want to hear of their opinions on anything that the PNM has to say with regards to something like this from anybody that is currently in the UNC that has said that defense. I'm willing to still listen to members of the UNC that has not tried to float that piece of BS.
I want to be absolutely fair, and I want to say that I think whilst the People's National Movement government has to address so many other issues, and you can make an argument that quite clearly they are picking at this, but they have a right to. It's the same way I said before that the United National Congress has in many instances, some of them they were just wrong and blatantly politically motivated, but in many instances they were right for calling out the Prime Minister. At the same time, the United National Congress also has to understand that there are many other issues that they themselves need to focus on and that they themselves need to deal with. They should not allow individuals like this to be within their party, especially if you are constantly chastising and condemning members of the government and of other political parties. You should not be allowing this within your party. I always said, if you have a stronger opposition, it makes for a better governance in Trinidad and Tobago. And this is just showing the weaknesses and the holes within the opposition once more. Because they can't even condemn the statements. They can't even come out and say that is wrong. But I also want to point out with the time that we have left. I've said it before in this program. I will repeat myself again. There is an underlying racial issue here in Trinidad and Tobago. And it doesn't matter whatever political party you support. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, your ethnicity, or where you trace your ancestry from. It doesn't matter at all. There is an underlying issue here in Trinidad and Tobago that we have failed to address. So much so that politicians too often have used it for political gain. And we as a people have fallen for it. So there might be some people who are agreeing with Susan Holder based off of some of the comments I've seen. There are people who are agreeing with the PNM's councils. Quite frankly, I don't think there's any room for this level of language or this low-level intelligence within the walls of any room in which these leaders are placed. They are not the ones to lead Trinidad and Tobago. In fact, they're the ones that are honestly pushing Trinidad and Tobago down.
Let's take it a step further. The chairman revealed the fact while he was unwilling to go or take the necessary strong steps in order to calm down on the situation, he revealed the fact that he himself understands that she should not have said what she said. And the fact of the matter is, why is his response so weak? Why is the response to the statements of the opposition on this matter seemingly so pathetic that, as you said, they don't realize that it advances the PNM?
Sean, you see,
it strengthens the PNM.
You see, I wouldn't say that it strengthens the PNM.
It does.
No, well, hold on. I wouldn't say that. The reason why is because people have made the argument of the Prime Minister's comments before. It doesn't necessarily strengthen the PNM, but it certainly weakens.
It weakens the opposition, which is good for the government.
But yes,
it comes back.
It is better to phrase it that way.
What did we speak about yesterday? Politics. People support their side no matter what.
You see,
and that sort of thing leads us to this. This nonsense is just the tip of the result. Because what the UNC trying to do now, nobody wants to come out against someone who said something that, technically speaking, by their own standards of judgment, should not have been said and should be punished. And instead of setting the right example so that they could demand the government to follow suit, they just play right back into those games.
Tobago, party politics seems to... let me rephrase that. My party's politics, your party's politics, his, hers, their party politics always trumps Mother Trinidad and Tobago, always trumps the best interest for everybody in Trinidad and Tobago. So if a UNC member makes these comments, they justify it. But if the government or the People's National Movement or the NTA or the PDP make such comments, or they're quick to throw tomatoes and chastise them and condemn them in the strongest possible way. But it's the same thing for the People's National Movement. This is why I'm stating, in a sense, it's a good thing that this came to light. Because I keep saying, and I will forever say it, that this racism that is allowed to continue and allowed to penetrate our system of politics is only going to continue to yes or no. Because you can have all the intelligence, all the education you want, Sean. You can have all the degrees on your wall. Or in some instances, these councillors have no education whatsoever. That does not equal to intelligence. It does not equal to intelligence.
Yes, because I'd like to point out, not only did she say what she said, and the defense around her, as well as her own defense, is so weak, she had the foolishness and stupidity within her to double down and repeat it on, I believe, a phone interview or another forum to be recorded again. Why? And why is this so important, ladies and gentlemen? Well, the government is in charge of formulating and implementing policy. The political party that makes up the government, the majority, they have that responsibility. And of course, when they fail, we criticize them. The Paria situation, I'm still pissed at that, by the way, this morning. How basic of a blunder that is. Again, very stupid. But the government of the day will always be in that position. And generally speaking, what shows like ours will be doing the majority of the time is criticizing the government of the day. Why? Because they make the mistakes, because they have to make decisions. And when they are at times as inept as a lot of politicians in this country, including a lot of the government politicians, it seems, are, we're going to get mistakes like this, allowing this commission of inquiry to devolve in such a state after it's so delayed. The opposition is not supposed to be in this position. They are not. All of these errors are unforced errors by their own direct and completely unasked for ineptitude. They don't have to make decisions. They don't have to enact policy, right?
Before we go to news on the hour, I just wanted to conclude by stating, I repeat what I had a conversation on Amplia this morning, and it's very much relevant to what we're talking about. It seems as though Trinidad and Tobago lacks that level of intelligence to have meaningful discussions, meaningful debates, intelligent conversation. We are too combative, and quite frankly, nonsense like this only makes the situation worse. Hold on. Cool down, calm down, let's go for news. When we come back, we will discuss this. We will discuss it further. We break for news on the hour here on WESN, folks.
Chantwell Vibes, a musical tribute to Andre Tanker. Saturday, September 24th, 2022. Central Bank Auditorium. Showtime, 7:30 p.m. Featuring 3 Canal, Mavis John, Ataclan, Empress Ajay, Stacy Sobers, and panist Natasha Joseph. Tickets, $300. Available at Crosby's Music Center, St. James. Extra Foods, Rima, Grand Bazaar, and Endeavour. Online at Island E-Tickets. Committee members at 678-2843 or 482-3111. Central Bank box office on the day of the event. Mart's Liquor Palace, Digomata Main Road, La Puerta. A musical tribute to Andre Tanker. Saturday, September 24th, 2022. Central Bank Auditorium. Showtime, 7:30 p.m.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I am Denise St. Clair. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Watson Duke slams THA for lack of care toward traveling Tobago delegation. Commission of Inquiry into Paria starved of funds. Police train safety officers to tackle school violence. And internationally, shark attack kills a U.S. cruise passenger in Bahamas. Now for the details. THA Deputy Political Leader Watson Duke is apparently calling out Chief Secretary Farley Augustine and the PDP administration for failing the people of Tobago. This, as he says, that the delegation that made their way to New York were severely neglected and remain hungry and stranded without aid from the THA.
They were not provided for. Beyond the tickets, when they land, they were treated as thieves, as slaves, as castaways. There were no transportation to rally them and take them from the airport to a chosen specific destination. I'm appealing to the Tobagos of a sin of which I'm part, but those who consider themselves to be the decision makers, those who consider themselves to be the hot shots in the Tobagos of Assembly, the policy makers and the drivers of the system, to act wisely and do so now. Show Tobagonians that you care about them.
The Commission of Inquiry into Paria Trading is calling for the relevant resources to conduct their duties in an effective manner. The Commission began yesterday.
Whilst we stand ready to do that which we are charged to do, we cannot do so without the basic tools to carry it out. To those whose responsibility it is to equip, I ask publicly, please help us do our job. Go the extra mile to provide us with the necessary tools to carry out this inquiry without further delay.
Safety officers in schools in East Trinidad are poised to tackle a series of violent situations that may pop up from time to time in educational institutions. This as the Interagency Task Force officers trained 25 school health, safety and security officers attached to the Health, Safety and Security Services unit in the St. George East Educational District in preventing and responding to threats and violence. The sessions were held on August 16th and 17th at the Barataria South Secondary School. According to facilitators, the safety officers are now well equipped to advise school principals in preventing, assessing and treating offences that may occur against the respective school populations. International news now. A U.S. cruise ship passenger was killed by a shark while snorkeling near the Bahamas on Tuesday. The 58-year-old woman from Pennsylvania was on an excursion near Green Cay near Nassau when the incident took place. Police later said that the family identified the shark as a bull shark. A similar incident in the area took the life of a 21-year-old American in 2019. Despite gripping public attention, shark attacks are exceedingly rare. Well, that was your News to the Hour on WESN. I am Denise St. Clair. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back to Talking Point here on WESN. Now, even though we concluded just now with our discussion over the racist rant by Alderman Susan Holder of the San Grande Regional Corporation, pausing on that conversation for a moment just to bring you some breaking news. Queen Elizabeth II, her health is being monitored very, very closely at Balmoral Castle. She's under medical supervision. The Buckingham Palace has not released any further information beyond that, saying that her doctors are concerned for her health. Further evaluation is needed, but the 96-year-old monarch, according to the release, is resting comfortably. Prince Charles, Camilla, and Princess Anne are all at Balmoral Castle. Prince William is on his way there, and all have expressed their concern for Queen Elizabeth II, her health this morning, and we do the same here on Talking Point and WESN. News is that Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle will also be traveling to Scotland. So, anytime that the entire family is to be there, that's not really a very positive sign.
The thing is, as much as the royal family is supposed to be an institution in many respects, because she has been a key central figure even before ascending to the throne, and from the time of World War II, you could almost say, you're talking about over half a century. She has been an institution almost unto herself.
70 years.
Right? And that is an incredible thing. She has her critics. I understand the criticisms. I don't have an opinion on whether I agree with them or not, because that has a lot to do with her personal family life. It is what it is, because the family has professional responsibilities for their position. They're not necessarily as rich as a lot of people assume them to be. All I'll say is this: I do believe she got COVID. Was it this year or last year? I can't remember exactly when.
Yeah, I think it was earlier this year.
Yeah, I just like to point out that with illnesses like this, even something like the flu, for our older citizens, it's not something that we should take lightly, because even if they recover, whether it's from COVID, flu, pneumonia, whatever virus, whatever infection, the impact it could have on their health long term could be affected. Instead of living 10 years more, they might only have 5 more years. This is why that part of the population, I think, this pandemic, more than anything else, for me personally, I'm not a doctor, so still consult your physician. Don't take my words for it as gospel, but it's something that it has formulated that opinion that I now hold, which is why I ask our older population to please be careful, because besides COVID, we have a lot of viruses floating around right now, I believe.
The Queen's closest family members are heading to Balmoral. You can stay tuned to WSN throughout the day for the latest news due to France 24, and for WESN's news on the hour. We'll be sure to monitor the situation and report to you with further updates as the 96-year-old monarch continues to be monitored. Folks, let's open up the phone lines now. The numbers on your screen. Call in and join us on Talking Point this morning. Always ready to hear your opinion and your thoughts. Always ready to have that debate and that conversation with you. Remember, nobody's opinion is necessarily wrong. We may not agree with you, you may not agree with us, but that is exactly what leads to progressive discussions. Call on the line with us from Diego Martin. Good morning, caller.
Thank you, guys. Good morning. I haven't seen this show, but I don't think I'm too out of timing. Yesterday, watching that COE, listening to QC Lynch, this would be ludicrous had it not been so tragic, huh? But you know why these shameless people didn't have stationery? Because 194 years ago when this happened and Rowley was MIA, Mr. George was playing golf. Stuart Young had to play host and bring the families inside, seat them, offer them refreshments. But because he and Rowley now conducting other nefarious activities in another part of the world, he wasn't here, because he could have brought stationery from his own family's pencil cases, printer, scanner. Now they had to go pilfer chairs from Rowley's place. I mean, this government's contempt and callous attitude to the living and the dead, these families, it's just unreal. You think Donna Cox scared to visit these fatherless kids? You think Gatsby Dolly knows if they had books and uniforms for school? Not one gober. I mean, like, really? And on the slur issue, honestly, I didn't see the whole thing. I just heard, like, a little sound bite. So, for now, that was stupid and irresponsible. But again, do so, don't like so. and PNM outcry. And the caller who blames the 750,000 or 1 million living and dead Indians for the downfall of this country, I just don't know what to say. Thanks. Goodbye.
Thank you, caller. I think I know what she means, but I don't necessarily want to engage in a clash of ideals between two callers.
No, actually, I'm just trying to think of who that caller is and when that
I think I know who she means, and I understand why she said what she said. And I will say that I hope that it does not then turn into a confrontation if the other caller calls in.
We have a caller on the line with us from Claxonby. I'll respond after. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, hi, good morning, Keaton and Simone.
Good morning.
You know, let me just go back 3 steps and remember. You remember when the Prime Minister, talk about the deep diving? What he had required? What the Prime Minister had said?
Go on, caller.
You all remember what he said?
I'm not sure what you're referring to. So please
just tell us. So go ahead and...
Right. He said that he was implementing a 5-member team.
Right, yes.
And that would have been working immediately. Right? But after that, members come and the opposition come and say that she know one person, and they come and they squash it, and she said, let us form a commissioner inquiry. And that was the end of that day. If we had a 5-member team, you know, all this thing would have done already, went through already, but just that one person, they could have changed that one person, what she says she know, and bring in somebody else and had the team take possession of the situation. We would have already know what happened, but because of that, we know that inquiry, the stake this time, and at the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller.
I want to respond to that directly.
You made a good point, though, that nothing ever comes out of it. I still am of the opinion that I didn't want a politically appointed team, although one can make the argument that's what we're seeing taking place right now. Thus far, it seems as though Jerome Lynch has stayed away from politics and has made it abundantly clear that he's not involved in that. I didn't want any political team involved in this at all. However, you're right in stating that nothing ever comes out of anything. Commission after inquiry after commission after inquiry. We're so, I guess you could say, to a certain extent, lucky that this is publicized.
Just want to say quick, we can't assume the results of Keith Rowley's plan. We could assume that it would have probably have been implemented faster. We can't assume the results. The other thing is, the merits of the plan have nothing to do with the ability then of implementing the plan. The government is in charge of both, unfortunately. And if they wanted to say, I told you our idea was better, right? It's one thing if they could show reasonable reasons why it was delayed outside of their control, but to say that the commission did not have pens and paper and printers, how much printers could it honestly be, right? 500, 1,000, it shouldn't be that much. The financial resources required should not have been that much. So I understand your point, and we've used it, but at the end of the day, the government did not help the situation.
I think we have a caller on the line with us. Good morning, caller from Yarrow.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
I want to say thank you very much, Keaton, for putting me in perspective and for also applauding me as a citizen, as a patriot for my country. Let me just say this. Keaton, you are a very educated and knowledgeable person. You're highlighting a lot of issues, and we want the forum to be continue for the voice of the people who is the majority to understand the challenges that we face. And Keaton, the wheels had a turn, because listen to me. Yesterday I received a call to come to the demonstration farm for Rio Claro to renew all my file. I do that 10 times already. In the days of UNC, it was the greatest turnover with integrity of investigating and putting a profile in place. Not stressing from the topic of the day, but understanding the issue at hand that we face that is critical. And I am saying to you, to my MP in Mayaro, Mr. Rushton Parry, we have the energy sector rolling in this community for donkey years. Frankie Khan dead and gone. And listen to me, we don't have an emergency response organization fitted to deal with the disaster that may be man-made to fit our community. And yet still we have big fire station and other accessories in our community that is only an acting image of what the details need to do. Critical thinking you are, Mr. Keaton, and I continue to do your risk assessment for the deployment of continuity in this country. I thank you today, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you very much, caller. I referenced a caller from, I think, 2 days ago on Talking Point to go exactly with what you're saying. You're saying an emergency plan, an infrastructural plan. We could have all the fire engines and whatnot we want in the air. That doesn't necessarily mean much. It helps, but it doesn't mean much. The caller from San Fernando, if you're viewing this morning, you made an excellent point a couple days ago, and we didn't emphasize enough on it. What is the point of a Ministry of Planning and Development? What does the Ministry of Planning and Development really do? What is the purpose of funding a Ministry of Planning and Development? Does the minister or the ministers past and present understand what planning and development is? Caller, you made an excellent point. Oil and gas companies have been a part of Mayaro for as long as we can tell. And yet still in this day and age, we still can't have these measures in place. Rather depressing is that Trinidad and Tobago, Sean, we celebrate a lot. But it's amazing that in this day and age, after all the money that we've benefited from and all the money that we've gained and all the so-called investments that we've seen, Trinidad and Tobago is living in a collapsed society. It's no longer collapsing, we have collapsed.
All we know what to do is to buy assets. We buy buses, we can't maintain them. We buy ferries, we can't maintain them. The ferries are in a bad situation of maintaining them. Then the government turns over, sees the bad situation, tries to make a change, makes a worse decision, compounds the bad situation, passes it off to the next government, who then makes more bad decisions. And I believe that that is a microcosm of what goes on with regards to a lot of things in the country. Because obviously, when governments change hands, they don't want to necessarily, they either do two things. They take credit for what the government before them started but didn't finish, right? Or they try to change things because they want to show that we know better, but ultimately, they don't actually necessarily change things for the better. And we see this far too often. But what we do see very consistently also is we know how to buy things, but we can't maintain them or even improve upon them.
Which is why we still have not learned the value of the dollar. Caller on the line with us from San Juan. Good morning, caller.
A very good morning to Keaton.
Good morning, sir.
And a very good morning to Sean Michael.
Morning, morning.
Yeah, I'm very glad and happy to see Sean Michael back on his feet.
Thank you, thank you.
Fighting fit.
Technically sitting, but...
Maybe you could go 12 rounds with Tyson Fury.
No.
Oh, I would love to see that.
I will last all of 2 seconds. It'll be a record. It'll be a record knockout.
All right. You didn't say who would get knocked out, eh?
Me.
You're calling you smart.
Let me know me.
Calling you smart.
Anyway, I'll try to be as short as possible. My problem with this commission of inquiry, why do we apply different rules whenever we have commissions of inquiry? Because if you throw your mind back to a few years ago when the PP government was in office, they appointed a commission of inquiry into the attempted coup that was held, the coup that was carried on by the Jamaat al-Muslimin. And the main person in that, who was behind that coup, he told them plain in unambiguous language that I am not appearing before the commission of inquiry. But here we have, for this commission of inquiry, where unfortunately 4 men lost their lives when they were sucked into that pipeline, the legal counsel for the Commission of Inquiry, Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj, is saying that if witnesses if they are called to testify and they fail to do so, that there will be consequences for them, that there could be court action against them.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Commission of Inquiry into something that was much bigger. Now, I, with all due respect to the families, they lost their loved ones. Yes. 4 people lost their lives. But that coup in 1990 affected the entire country. Businessmen lost millions of dollars in property.
And it's still affecting the country.
Yeah. The same legal language put towards the late, well, he's dead and gone now, Imam Yassin Abu Bakr and other major players in that coup.
Yeah.
I can't understand where these legal minds lead us to. I'll listen to your response of it.
Thanks
for your time.
The most obvious answer, I don't know if this is the right one, is the fact of the deal made to end the coup, where I believe he was more or less immune from prosecution over the matter.
No. That I do not think that particular deal would actually affect his appearance before commission, because he would have still been immune to prosecution. But appearing before the commission, the caller has a point. Hold on, let's expand on that, because we have one more call, and then definitely let's expand. That's a good point you made.
Okay.
Good morning, caller from Chaguanas.
Good day, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Well, you see, yesterday.
oh gosh, let's not delve into that.
Hold on. Go on, Professor.
Cannot politician. Karen had a reason why there was some sort of conflict in AG representing the people and being government advised. That is the bottom line, not accessible. We see that government is going to submit what that was
all right, Professor.
to Parliament, and I cannot understand
okay.
the reason. You cannot have an investigation of somebody without talking to the person.
Right, yes,
to them
yes.
Any improper.
No, but Professor, that point
yes?
I believe the two of you actually agreed on. You might not, and I tried to tell you this after you got off air. She does not disagree with that point. It's just that I believe how both of you are communicating, the point might be different, and that might be where the confusion comes from. But
I hear you too.
You're not hearing me?
Professor, I think, okay, Professor.
I hear you.
Professor, we're having a bit of a difficulty, because when you were speaking, you were crackling, and you probably don't hear us. So what we're going to do, forgive us, we're going to cut your call. We're going to cut the call, and we will respond to you off air. Listen to your TV. Right, Professor, listen to your television. So as Sean was pointed out yesterday, the points that you made in relation to the Attorney General being the representative of the government and of the people, it is the same. It should always be that way. Karen, Eunice, Sharon, yourself agreed on that point. There may have been some form of, I don't know if we want to call it miscommunication or misunderstanding of what both you and Karen stated. And oftentimes communication is always an issue with anybody. You know, it could happen to anybody, but both of you all agreed on that point. So I think both of you all have an understanding, and both of you all are in a similar position when it comes to the Attorney General.
Quick, you said you wanted to get into...
Right, in relation to the coup, I don't think the amnesty agreement would have affected that as such. To a certain extent, they couldn't call him and say that he will go through court, because of that same amnesty would have actually stated that, listen, you're immune from prosecution.
Yeah.
So from the moment that they said, okay, you are to appear before the commission for inquiry, and he said no, they couldn't do anything else after that. You know, there was nothing else they could have done after that. What are they going to do?
Well, so technically, if there is legal consequence, that would be separate, as you pointed out.
But this is the thing I'm trying. Maybe
right.
maybe I'm not communicating directly with that, because that amnesty in relation to his actions from 1990.
Yes, it doesn't link.
It shouldn't link to his appearance before the Commission of Inquiry.
So the question is, what are the consequences alluded to in this Commission of Inquiry? Right?
Yeah, because Ramesh Lawrence can't just say, yeah, there's going to be.
We don't know what it is, so we don't know how serious it is. So it's hard to now compare the two, If it is a case where this commission actually has some hard consequences that are legal, then you could say, and I think the caller might have been alluding to that the fault lies with whoever was in charge in that commission of inquiry,
the legal
being
counsel,
too weak. But again, without those details, it's hard to say. I thought the caller was going to make the point of why does it seem like every time we have a commission of inquiry, all of the rules seem to be up in the air and up to or to be determined by the government of the day as they see fit.
Because Trinidad and Tobago has never set the standard. In fact, you know what? People might want to actually go after me for making that comment. So I'll form it in a question. Have we ever set the standard for anything? Oh, yes, yes. White collar crime and corruption.
And that is literally what I was now thinking.
Let's take a break here on the program. We'll be back after this.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Well, as we welcome you back to Talking Point, thank you very much to all our callers for their contribution this morning. I just wanted to give you one last update on Talking Point about the Queen's health. One former royal correspondent saying that hopefully this is a passing storm that can be overcome, but judging from the careful wording from Buckingham Palace over the Queen's condition, something serious is possibly going on here. Her body is giving out on her, though it's not clear quite in what way or how badly. That is what it seems like. Well-wishers have now gathered outside Balmoral Castle in Scotland as the Queen's family arrives to be with her at this point. So again, we'll monitor this situation. Stay tuned to WSN for news on the hour and France 24 throughout the day for the latest updates and breaking news. Sean Michael Small, what a conversation this morning we had.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm technically not finished. I could probably go for another hour, but I will leave with two last quick points. First of all, you pointed out, I completely overlooked this, local government elections coming up this year, and a UNC alderman uses a racial slur. That is some beautifully ironic timing there, and the lack of response by the UNC, I hope it doesn't come back to bite you in you know where. When it comes time later on, local government elections is not too far away. We're in September, right, already. It's not like it was if it was early in the year. And also, I'd just like to point out that this is distracting us from the real local government story. And that is to say, the situation in Penal Debe, Siparia, and Lord knows however many regional corporations that are in this situation where their budget allocation, which in the case of Penal Debe was confirmed yesterday on the M Prime, less than what they requested. They got just a little over half of what was allocated, and now that the new budget is coming up, the new financial year is coming up, the remainder money, for all intents and purposes, will more or less never be seen by the corporation again. That's a hell of a thing.
I wonder
to get your
where-
budget slashed twice.
I wonder where that money went to.
I wonder too.
Oh, probably Independence Day celebrations.
And that should be the story. Nah. There are a lot more money than that.
Oh God.
A lot more
Part
money than
of it
that.
have to come from
right?
somewhere.
A lot of more money than that. And that should be the story of local government right now, that the UNC could have potentially used to hammer home and win those local government elections. But no, they have to try to figure out how to defend a racial slur.
Well, quite frankly, the PNM has also played their cards very brilliantly in this particular instance. So we'll monitor that
Is
situation.
it brilliantly by just sitting back and letting the other side implode?
Think about it. How was it leaked?
Anyway, that implies a lot, buddy.
Anyway, folks.
I don't want to assume nothing.
No, I think it's good that it was leaked. Actually, I said
yes,
it before. I think it was good.
Unfortunately, yes, you are correct with that.
But anyway, folks, that's it for Talking Point. Thank you very much for joining us for this edition, and to all our callers once more, to all those in the director's box. I'm Keaton Shaw. That's been Mr. Sean Michael Small. Remember, as ironic as it may be,
oh Lord,
today is a good day to have a good day.
Please, people, listen to the man's words.
If things go well, fingers crossed, we'll see you again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
WESN